After School Special Podcast. After School Special Podcast. After School Special Podcast. After School Special Podcast.
We're brothers. We're happy and we're singing and we're colored. Give me a high five.
All right, cut and print. Beautiful, guys. Dynamite. That is...
My next guests tonight star in their own show, The Wayans Brothers, which airs each Wednesday at 9 o'clock on the Warner Brothers Network. Ladies and gentlemen, Sean and Marlon Wayans.
What? Mama died! Yeah, look at him over there hogging the mic. Get some of that. Hey, yo, I make them fall like Niagara. Yo, I don't want to blow your spot, but I know you use Viagra. Now I'm gone, because this mic smell like puffing the board.
Hello, Latchkey kids and broken homies. This is your Uncle Staffman coming to you live from the underbelly. And we're here with Double D. This is our second week of just the two of us hosting.
Yes, sir.
And right now we have a opportunity to go back into time. We're getting ready to talk about the Wayans Brothers. I've been calling them the Wayans Brothers for the last couple of days. But it's actually the Wayans Brothers. This is a famous comedy family. You might have known Keenan Ivory Wayans from In Living Color, Low Down Dirty Shame, and also I'm Gonna Get You Sucker. You might know Damon Wayans from Blank Man and from Handicapped Man from Living Color. You might also know Kim. Kim was on...
She was on that LL Cool J's.
Cool J show. That's the one I was about to refer to. So, In the House. And that also had Alfonso Ribeiro from Fresh Prince fame. And then you got Sean and Marlon. So Sean and Marlon were also on the In Living Color show in bit roles. But as they got older, they started developing their own show, which led to the start of the Wayans Brothers Show, which first came out in January 11th of 1995 and ran all the way to May 20th, 1999. This show was the continuation of WB20s or whatever WB you had, but Warner Brothers had a specific channel that had like all kinds of shows that would come on. You had the knockoff Married with Children, which was Unhappily Ever After, where the father was talking to a rabbit that was voiced by Bobcat Goldthwait. You also had Nikki Cox was on there. You had the other
Muscle?
show, which
was it Muscle?
Muscle. Yeah, it was short-lived. I've never watched that one, so I don't know anything about that. But I do know about the Parenthood, which starred Robert Townsend, Faison Love, and a couple other notable characters on there. That was a pretty good show as well. So the show was originally centered in Harlem, where Pop's Diner was located in Harlem. The brothers had an apartment, and the one brother Sean worked for APS, which was kind of like UPS, and Marlon was just trying to find his way. So that was the big thing. The show was produced by Warner Brothers Studios in Burbank, California. Unfortunately, the show was canceled in 1999, which was its fifth season, due to low ratings and was not given a proper finale. However, it was alluded to in the film Scary Movie when Sean's character, Ray, was stabbing another character furiously. If you remember that scene.
Yes, I do.
He's like, and the Wayans Brothers was a good show and didn't get a final episode.
Were you in on this show from the very beginning?
I was not. I got into it later. I did not find myself watching it right away, but later on I watched it. I guess it's because my dad was watching it, so hey, it's on TV, so I guess I'll watch it.
Yeah, for me it was my friends at middle school. They kept referencing like things they would hear from the show, and I had no idea because I was watching Martin still. Martin went off in 97. This came out in 95. So I was the kind of guy, and I'm still like this today. Like, once I like something, anything that resembles the thing that I originally like, I kind of shun it. Like, when Sega Genesis came out, it was my first game system that was bought specifically for me. So even though Nintendo probably had more games, better games, I didn't want Nintendo. I was like, oh, I'm a Sega man. I'm a Sega man.
Right.
Or Nike. I'm a Nike man. So when this came out, I was like, I'm a Martin man. I don't even want to watch this. But
right.
My friends got me watching this, though, a little bit.
It's funny you bring that up because Martin is alluded to on the Wayans Brothers Show. Because there's an episode that stars Garcella Bouvet, I think that's her name. That was Fancy from the Jamie Foxx show.
Yeah.
She's dating Sean, and she's a very domineering, bossy woman. She pushes herself into the apartment, and Marlon's like, wait a minute, you can't just be busting up in here like that. Your man not gonna like that. She's like, my man will let me do whatever I want to do. That's what she says. And she's like, where's the mustard? And he's like, damn the mustard, Gina. Damn the mustard. Yeah.
But eventually, like on WB, you would get shows like Steve Harvey and Jamie Foxx show too, right?
Yeah. So eventually that started happening after the Wayans Brothers. So I guess they saw the value of black viewers and they started putting that on there. Because if I'm not mistaken, Cedric got a show next. Cedric was on Fox, and then Bernie Mac was on Fox. Cedric had a sketch comedy show.
Yeah.
And Bernie Mac had his show, which was a sitcom, but it had no laugh track. So let's continue. So the show had a wide array of characters, as well as guests such as Bernie Mac, Missy Elliott, Faison Love, In Vogue, Michael Clark Duncan, Paula Abdul, Richard Roundtree from Shaft fame, and they always made jokes about the person that was on there. So they did one where Richard Roundtree is in season 1 and he's playing the father of Sean's girlfriend Lisa, who's played by Leela Rashawn. And Marlon says, did anybody tell you look like Shaft? And Richard Roundtree looks at him, and before he say anything, he's like, you shut your mouth. So, and they had some really good jokes. They had tons of Michael Jackson jokes on there, ton of OJ jokes. I mean, whatever was in the news at that time, that's what they were joking about. So it's a lot of references that I would say Gen Z, they would not know.
Well, the start of that show for me, and I think for a lot of people, was always Pops. That was my guy. So 95 was around the time where Friday came out, right? Didn't Friday come out in 95? And I think Don't Drink Your Juice in the Hood or whatever the Wayans Brothers, they produced, that movie came out around the same time too.
Don't be a menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood.
Yes.
That's a good movie, dude.
I love it. I know it got panned by critics, but I love that movie.
Sean and Marlon are a great duo. I have to admit, like when they're together, they put magic. I mean, White Girls alone, it's probably one of the most taboo movies, but White Girls was funny. And then do you remember the movie Little Man?
Yes. And White Chicks is like spans generation. And honestly, when that movie first came out, I was kind of oblivious about it. I didn't really care about it. But my 9-year-old niece, I was watching the Wayans Brothers before we got on, and she said, "Oh, I know those two." She was talking about Sean and Marlon. I'm like, I had the, you don't know them. She was like, they're the White Chicks. I'm like, oh, dang! Out of all the stuff that they've done, that's what they're known for is the White Chicks. Oh, all right.
Yeah, I know. The show went for a total of 5 seasons. The theme song from the show, which I did not know, was performed by A Tribe Called Quest for seasons 1 and 2. So I did not know that. So as we go on further, the brothers lived in an apartment on 117th Street in Harlem. Sean owns a local newsstand where he and his brother Marlon work on a daily basis. Their father, John Pops Williams, who's the actor's name is John Witherspoon, who I found out, and I did not know, the godparents of his children are David Letterman.
John Witherspoon's kids?
Yeah.
Oh, no
They were
kidding.
best friends. Yep.
I had no idea, and I just knew John Witherspoon from, of course, Friday. I knew him from because he was part of that Richard Pryor show or that little...
Yeah, he was a serious actor in the late 70s because he was on Good Times a few times as a cop. So he was a serious actor at one point and then transitioned over into comedy. Kind of like Leslie Nielsen. Leslie Nielsen started out serious and then he got into comedy, and that's where he started to excel.
Well, like Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks was a comedian, but then he got serious. So it was like...
Yeah, he got serious, yeah. because he was bosom buddies. He was doing drag like in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Hey babies, you liking the show? Well, thanks. Leave a 5-star rating and a comment, please. Do you want to see the guys' faces? Well, they got YouTube videos. You can watch this podcast on any major platform you listen to. Rate 5 stars and comment. Thanks, babies.
So Marlon also worked at the diner where Pops worked, but then he left and ended up working with Sean at the newsstand. The restaurant was later moved from downtown to the fictional Niedermeyer building, which was in Rockefeller Center, where Sean's newsstand is located, and Dee Baxter, played by Anna Marie Horsford, was the security guard. Before that, it was Jill Tasker, who played Lou, the feisty security guard, the white security guard that had all the hair. She had a lot of hair.
The big 80s hair.
Yeah.
What happened to her? Did she just get recast or?
So Dee would show up in a couple episodes, then Lou would show up, and then Dee was there permanently. So I don't know what happened. And Anna Marie Horsford has her own record of being in good stuff. Like, she started off on soap operas. She was on the show Amen, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, so
she was Sherman Helmsley's daughter on that show.
Yes. Yeah, and Sherman Helmsley also played the manager of the building in the Wayans Brothers.
Oh,
so
okay.
So he was in there. Other famous actors, I don't want to go as far as to say they're famous in all film, but they're known for supporting roles. Sean's former girlfriend was Lisa Saunders, played by Leela Rashan. You would know Leela Rashan as Sunshine from the movie Harlem Nights. That's her fame, and she also did a couple other films. Waiting to Exhale was another one that she did. She did not return for the rest of the season after season 1. There was an actress named Monique, played by Paula J. Parker. You might know her as Craig's girlfriend from Friday 1 that had the long nails and the braids.
Yes.
Now tell me who she was.
Well, Sean's character changed because he was in a relationship, and then after she left, he just became like a player type.
Yeah, he just became a bachelor at that point. Like, him and Marlon were just womanizing at that point. It was just like, who's the girlfriend of the week?
Yeah.
So that's
kind of like with Seinfeld. Seinfeld did the same thing.
And they do a lot of Seinfeld jokes on there too. Like, at the time, Seinfeld was still on, so they joked around with other shows, not menacingly, but just poked fun at it, because they'd be like, they'd be like, why is this going on like this? I don't understand it. So they do that. Dee Baxter, played by Anna Marie Horsford, was the replacement security guard. Jill Tasker was Lou. I really liked her, but yeah, they didn't give a reason why she left. White Mike was played by Mitch Mullany, he was a ghetto white neighbor, appeared for 6 episodes of season 2. He was slated to appear as a reoccurring character for the rest of the series, but Mitch ended up getting his own show, which was Nick Freno, Licensed Teacher. Yeah. And I remember watching that too. And unfortunately, he passed. It was something, and he ended up dying, prematurely. Marlon was working with Pops at the diner in season 1, but in season 2, he worked at the newsstand with Sean. Sean formerly worked for APS in season 2. He worked at the newsstand, and then Pops Joint was a standalone restaurant where he hired Marlon and Benny. Benny was the Asian cook that would work for Pops in the back, and he always was getting it in. He was getting it in, man. Yeah, he was a cook during season 1. However, in season 2, the eatery was moved to the Niedermeyer building in Rockefeller Center. It was also revealed that Pop's Joint was a historical landmark for the nation's leaders and activists of the civil rights movement. And I mean, even though it was the Wayans Brothers, I really loved John Witherspoon in that show, especially them little outfits that he was wearing, because he always had on like these Tic Tac shoes and like these colorful, the white Tic Tac shoes.
Yes.
And he always had on like these colorful outfits, like with the
tacky.
slacks.
You can say it.
Tacky.
Tacky. Well, there was another guy on there that was just as tacky as him. TC.
Yes.
Those two are my favorites, honestly. They were hilarious.
Yeah. And TC got mad if he was tacky. Man, what you did? Where you gotta go there, man?
Who's that fat guy? He was like hustle man for them. It was I think it was Sean's friend. And they always made fun of him for being hungry all the time.
That was Dupree.
Yeah.
Dupree. And then they had another character on there. He was like the hustle man inside the Niedermeyer building. Light-skinned guy. He was the bad guy in Don't Be a Menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood. He had a Jamaican accent with braids in the first season, and then it kind of weaned off, and he had a normal accent with a low fade.
That was very bizarre.
Yeah.
In one episode, they made light of it, like, wow, you look better without the braids. But that's pretty much how they made light of it. It was just, oh, okay. Yeah, he's not doing that anymore.
So this is how they characterize the characters. Sean was a womanizing, stylish, and responsible young bachelor, Marlon's older brother. Marlon was Sean's dim-witted, immature, sex-crazed, unsanitary, and lazy younger brother. John Witherspoon was the dysfunctional, tacky father who owns his locally famed diner. Anna Marie Horsford, the tough security guard, and Sean and Marlon and Pop's close friend. And then people who went on to do other things. Lou Milano, Jill Tasker. She was only in season 2, episodes 1 through 7. Paula J. Parker as Monique, season 2, episode 1 through 11. And Leela Rashan as Lisa Saunders, season 1. As I said before, it went 5 seasons, and the last episode did not end on a cliffhanger, but it was no closure to the last episode. So before I get to that, I want to talk a little bit more about the production. So this came from some ideas that Sean and Marlon had. The Wayans brothers were hot around that time, so the studio wanted to do something with them, and they ended up coming with this. The show originally was going to be called Brother to Brother, but then it was changed to the Wayans brothers. The title card, the intro, was always funny because it's them walking this old lady across the street, and they get her halfway across till she gets hit by a bus and lands on the other side, and they catch that bus and they leave off. But before that, they do a fake title card where they're in the 70s get up with afros, and the theme song is "We're brothers, we're happy, and we're friendly, and we're colored." It was a high five. And he's like, "Cut and print, beautiful fellas, beautiful dynamite." They really knew how to poke fun at themselves. A lot of, I wouldn't say self-deprecating humor, but Marlon was more of the wild one. Like, he was willing to do anything to get a laugh. And he's even said it in interviews, like, man, I just like making people laugh. Like, I'll do whatever it takes to get somebody to laugh, because that's just how far they were willing to go. I remember, like, some of the episodes would start off with Sean and Marlon in the apartment, and something bad would happen to Marlon. Like, Marlon was supposed to be cooking fries because Sean had to take a phone call. And Sean was like, "Hey, how them fries coming?" And it's Marlon on fire. And he's like, "You burnt up the fries." So there's always something cartoonish happening with them. So yeah, that was that. But the final episode was with Roy Jones Jr. And the premise was Pops is upset at Sean and Marlon for selling his old boxing memorabilia. They then find out that the new owner is champion boxer Roy Jones Jr. And that's the final episode. Like, I think they get the stuff back, but there's no like wrap up of where everybody ended. As far as I know, they still working at the newsstand, and Pop still owns the diner. At least that's what I know. But the Wayans did have other shows that came. My Wife and Kids was the next show that the Wayans got. That was with Damon. I think that was the next popular show.
Around that time, Keenan Ivory had like that late night talk show around that time too. Remember that? You don't remember Keenan Ivory? It was like the black version of Leno. You don't remember him having his own show?
I have to look it up. I don't remember.
Yeah, he had a show, and then shortly after he started it, he got canceled, and then like Magic Johnson kind of replaced him.
Yeah, but they were, they've never been in any trouble. They've only been like on the funny side of things. You never hear nothing in the news about them. They've always had something that's funny. I've always admired them and their tenacity to keep coming back and do different things. Like, Marlon, like I said, is doing comedy shows and stuff like that. He's doing a tour now, I think, God Loves Me, where he's talking about Chris Rock and how Chris Rock and Will Smith kind of made him who he is today. So he's doing that. The other thing, too, is they also had a show on BET called Growing Up Wayans, which was with the second generation of the Wayans. So this is like Damon Wayans Jr. and a couple of the other Wayans kids, and that was on BET for a while.
What was your favorite episode?
My favorite episode is the one with Kim Whitley on it. Kim Whitley, who played Uncle Elroy's girlfriend in Friday After Next.
Yeah.
So what happens is she's playing a very obsessed fan of Marlon's because Marlon starts acting. And she has like, her grill is all messed up. Her hair is all raggedy. And she lures Marlon to her apartment. So it's kind of like the premise for Misery. So she gets Marlon there, and somehow Sean gets there, and they both get locked up. And she was like, if you don't want to be with me, then I'm going to have to kill you. She's like, I'm putting poison in your rice-a-roni. I hope you like it. And Marlon's like, that's a stupid question. Everybody loves rice-a-ronis. But she was getting ready to torture them, so she put the wood block between their knees, and she was doing a hammer time dance with the sledgehammer.
Oh, hell no.
So if you ever seen that part on Misery, that is just
with James Caan, yes,
and
Kathy Bates,
and Kathy Bates. Yeah, that was fucked up.
One of my favorite movies of all time. My favorite episode is Marlon Goes on the Road, season 3, when, just like you were saying, Marlon was trying to be like a stage actor. Yeah. And this is the one where Keith Sweat is playing in one of the plays. And I don't know why, but the funniest line in that whole episode, because of course they're making fun of all these black plays that were coming out in the 90s that were kind of awful. If you
no, you can say they were awful.
Yes,
like the gospel plays.
Yes. My God. But Keith Sweat, who plays himself, he's in one of these plays, and he plays a guy that lives in the basement, but he always wears all this fly gear because he ain't got to pay no rent. But in one of the lines, he was trying to calm his mom down. He's like, man, y'all need to calm down. That ain't no way to be. I've been living in the basement for 35 years. Or some shit like that. I just started laughing my ass off. Like, what kind of play is this? This is so terrible.
Yeah. They were so bad. Like, for the audience, for people who don't know, we used to have at the Fox, everyone who thought they could write would write a play.
Yes.
So it was like my mama's brother's keeper. And it's like, and it'd be somebody, the same premise, strong black woman, going through a struggle, and finds a Christian man at the end of the day. So, you know, like,
virtually every Tyler Perry movie that you've seen for the last 20 years.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
That's
everything you've seen in the movies, that was a play or is a play right now.
Yep. And who always used to be, I'm trying to think of that guy. Who's the guy that played BJ on Street Fighter?
Miguel Nunez Jr.
Yep. He did a lot of bit roles, but he was in those plays in the 90s and 2000s. Like, he was a star, and he would be in those plays too.
Anthony Cole Payne too.
And Clifton Powell.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those would sell out though, John. Like the black dollars.
They would. Yeah. At the Masonic Temple.
And it was so dramatic. I loved it.
Yeah.
I never went to it, but I love making fun of it. But whatever. Yeah. But the final legacy, because for a while this show was like the flagship of WB. This got it going as far as like getting eyes and respect to the network. And like you said, what followed was more black comedians coming over to WB and planting their flag, like the Steve Harvey show shortly afterwards came.
And I think the other thing I want to bring up, Yvette Lee Bowser, she's famous for black TV shows like Living Single was one of them. Mm-hmm. I saw her in the credits.
Living Single, Half and Half, The Exes, Happily Divorced, Blackish. Well, Blackish, a producer, Half and Half, executive producer.
The Cosby Show and A Different World.
Yeah. I see mostly producing,
Yeah, so first African-American woman to develop her own primetime series. So that's saying something. But yeah, I knew that name because I always remember it from Living Single. Yeah. Because of the way the typograph was with the credits. But let's wrap up. So I just want to say my final memories on this show is that it was a good show. It's unfortunate that it got canceled. It was funny. I thought that the people on there were like genuine, like in their performances. Mm-hmm. It wasn't cheap thrills. Now, Yeah, it was the occasional white people joke, and it would touch on something serious. Like I remember one episode where Marlon gets cast for a beer commercial, but it's like a stereotype of a black person, and he's like busting through the walls, and he's like, "Brother, showtime is here." He had like these dreadlocks and stuff, and it's really bad. And he's handing out drinks to all these like white actors in this commercial within the show, and Pops is telling him like, "Hey man, you doing wrong for the people." So I remember that, and like I said, it's hard for me to say if it was a booster for other actors, because I don't remember any other actors that stood out for me on there. Well, musician-wise, I don't know either. So
they had you. I think you named some of them. Like Paula Abdul was on that show.
Yeah, but she was. I think she was famous.
Yeah, they already had they had famous people on there, but I don't think the show was kind of like a Martin. You get like a hustle man that you never, like Tracy Morgan, you never seen him before unless you were into black comedians like Def Comedy Jam. But that show propelled him to do something else. And other people, like the dude that played Bruh Man, he did other things too after the show. And so I don't know specifically outside of Marlon and Sean if it did anything. Pops, he was already established by then. Witherspoon, John Witherspoon, he was already established. But I think for a moment of time, it might not have broken new ground. I'm gonna be honest with you. I personally didn't like the show at first until middle school, because like I said, my friends in 8th grade, they were not only watching it, but they were wearing like the same kind of gear. Like, I knew nothing about lugs shoes at that point. And I remember watching the show and seeing Marlon and Sean wear like lugs gear. And for anybody listening, that was kind of like another shoe brand that was popular, like FUBU. It was popular. And you had LRG, you had Echo. That's like a lot of those brands were popular in urban culture during that time. I don't know if they were a Fat Farm, or Fat Farm was like 2000, but they did have a lot of fashionable stuff. I just remember lugs, boots. I remember even thinking like, well, those are kind of cool. I might actually buy those because my friend is wearing them and he making it look cool. And then I will watch the show. I was like, oh, that's where he's getting it from. Yeah, that's when you're like impressionable. Like, oh, okay, my friends like it and I like my friends and he's funny, so the show must be funny. And sometimes the show was funny. But like I said, I'm a very loyal, kind of very narrow-minded. Like once I like something, if it's something that I think that's like similar but not as good, I'm not gonna like it. So Martin was like the end of, well, Living Single too, but Living Single wasn't like Martin. But any like black comedians that came after Martin, I kind of looked at them with like a side eye, like I don't know if you're gonna be good. But I think it might not have like promoted other actors or new actors from the show, but it definitely propelled WB and making it more valuable by getting them to get interested in other black comedians to have their own shows like Jamie Foxx.
That's true.
So I think that's their legacy, is like they were like the precursor for America to be introduced to Steve Harvey and Jamie Foxx.
And they did bring up other black actors too and actresses, because Holly Robinson Peete had a show on there too. She was the star on that one with Keith Michael Richardson, who does a lot of voice acting. It was called Like Family, where they had her high school friend got kicked out and they moved in with her son, and Holly Robinson Peete's daughter don't like each other, but over time they start to get really interested in one another. So it was one of those shows.
Robert Townsend had a show too.
That was Parenthood. The Parenthood. Yeah. So the Parenthood came on before Wayans Brothers. I think it was out before then. I think
it was like the same time. It was like WB just like
because Faison Love was on that one. Faison Love was on that one too. Oh, and Hanging with Mr. Cooper.
Yeah, that was 93.
But it wasn't on there. But I think because they went with this show, it gave a lot of these channels, like you said, an opportunity to say, hey, let's experiment and see what we can do with it. But in any event, we just wanted to bring this to your attention as a really good show. It's on HBO Max if you want to watch all 5 seasons. Just remember, you're not going to get any closure at the end, so don't be pissed. So I'm just telling you, you're not going to get no closure. Just deal with it.
Was it getting stronger to you at the end? Because it just, to me, it was like...
No, I don't know. It sounded to me like Warner Brothers was just saying, like, look, it's not popular anymore. They're moving on. Because, you know what? I can tell you why it was not popular anymore. Because when it would come on Sunday, I think, that's when they were moving into teen dramas. So you had like Smallville, Dawson's Creek, Buffy. So they were moving into a different direction because that's like 1999 going into the 2000s.
That's correct.
So that's probably what put the nail in the coffin for the Wayans. So it wasn't the Def Comedy Jam scene anymore. You know, it's like, let's move over to dramedies and stuff like that. Yeah, I think that the show was a really good show. I mean, I love John Witherspoon, may he rest in peace. I mean, he's a character actor. Like, he knew what he was doing. But he also, when he played Pops, you really thought that those were his sons, the way he talked with them.
Oh, and did you know who was in the running to be Pops, but the Wayans brothers said they didn't want him?
No, who?
Danny Glover.
Oh, my God.
Like, nah, bro. We want John Witherspoon.
Yeah, couldn't be Danny. He'd be like, I'm too old to be your father.
That would be kind of funny, but no, it's Pops all the way. And the fact that they are real brothers in real life, Sean and Marlon, the chemistry, I give them credit. That was there. You can't fake that. So no, it had its moments where I was laughing my ass off. But on the pedigree of like black sitcoms, that was like, that was an afterthought for me. But
yeah, I won't go as far to say it's one of the greatest shows. I will say that if I'm going to look at black sitcoms that are good for me, that were pretty high up, I would say Martin, I would say Living Single, because Living Single was the precursor to Friends. That needs to be on record.
So you're saying that over Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
No.
Cosby, even though...
I don't know. They're in my top 5, so I would say it's no particular order. Let me rephrase that. So Martin, Living Single, the first Cosby Show, because he did so many, it really pissed me off. A Different World, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So that's what I would say. Honorable mentions would be the Wayans Brothers. What's the other one? Hang with Mr. Cooper, Jamie Foxx Show.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Hey guys, as always, you can catch this podcast on any major platform you listen to podcasts. Please make sure to rate us 5 stars and comment on how you're liking the show. After School Special Podcast.
You know, that hard goodness that you get the next day.
Oh, yummy.
From a day-old donut at Dougie's.
After School Special Podcast.
No. That's my childhood right there, motherfucker. When did that come out?
Podcast comes out every Friday.
So yes, that's it. But I just want to say thank you to everybody who's listening. Hoping we can get this TikTok thing off the ground.
Oh man, if you missed it.
You should have seen us. It was like grumpy old men trying
What? What is this, buddy? What?
It was just like grumpy old men. And you know, we're not that old, but we're trying to figure out technology. So it's just that particular type of technology. I know how to do other things, but TikTok is kind of
and it's too many buttons. So. Like, what is this? I got a smiley button, a fire emoji button.
Oh,
just too many buttons, dude.
So we
get it together,
to
TikTok.
We tried to figure it out Friday. We could not find out how to do it. So Don came on for a little bit, and I came on for a little bit. And for those who watched Yu-Gi-Oh back in the day, it was the mind swap. It was like I was somebody like Don was Yu-Gi and I was Yu-Gi-Oh. So nobody knew what was on each other's mind. You had to do same body, different personalities. So that's what it was.
That's exactly. One tapped in, one tapped out. It was kind of comical. So maybe we made some good content. And on that end, we actually got we got some followers from doing that. Probably some bots, sex bots, but that's okay.
Or Russian bots trying to find out what these brothers are doing. So, but yeah, TikTok, Instagram, we go live on that every Friday unless something is barring us from doing that. And Instagram, we're going to do a lot better about putting out more content, more, funny things for you guys to see, just observations that we see. And we'll put that on there because Don's been a saint. He's been doing it, but it's been brutal with the
it's brutal work. Brutal, yes.
Yeah, so we're going to work together to get that figured out. So we're still trying to figure out the dynamic duo right now. Just bear with us as we continue to do what we're doing.
After School Special 3 on TikTok. After School SPE3 on Twitter, After School Special Podcast on YouTube, and After School Special Podcast.com is the website. We have some merchandise. We have stickers. If anybody is interested, inquire, message us, and we'll try to get that out as soon as possible. More merch to come. That's Staffman. I'm Double D. Until next time, this is After School Special Podcast. Peace out.
Later.
Hey everyone, it's Aaron from After School Special Podcast. Like what you hear so far? But don't forget to subscribe and download the show on whatever platform you get your podcasts. And just a friendly reminder, we have new episodes out every Friday. Thanks for listening, everyone.
What? What is this, buddy? What?